prince was already exhausted, and by morning he changed back to his human form. His clothes were torn, and he wondered what happened to him as he started getting flashes of events that occurred at night. Instantly, he saw the old woman in the forest where he was, and he recognized her. She repeated the last words she said to him previously. "You have a month to find someone to love you for who you are, or remain a beast forever." She laughed and vanished before his eyes. Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Odun, there lived a group of people who lived in peace and understanding amongst themselves. They were ruled by a certain king named Asa. King Asa was a man who ruled his kingdom with justice and kindness. By his side was his queen, Ephor. Queen Ephor was a very beautiful woman who carried herself with grace and was held in high esteem. People loved her so much because she was a very meek queen. Everyone who had an encounter with her loved her very much. The king and queen led an exemplary life, and they ruled with justice, and it's no wonder people always brought gifts and foodstuffs to appreciate them as being wonderful rulers. The king and queen were getting a bit old, and they had not been blessed with a child, which worried the entire kingdom. People would go out of their way to pray for the royal home, asking God to bless them with a child. Even though they displayed joy and happiness in front of everyone, it was getting to the king and his queen, as they needed an heir to ascend their throne when they passed. The king loved and adored his wife so much and would never be found doing anything to hurt her. He even turned down the many suggestions that he take another wife, but he refused as he loved and cherished his wife so much. But of late, he had been very moody and distant from the queen as much as possible. One day, the queen got word from her trusted maiden that the king was planning with his cabinet to take a new wife. Immediately she received the news, she confronted her husband, who did not deny the matter. Instead, he said yes, that he needed someone who would give him a son. She begged him to give her 2 months, that if she didn't conceive, then he could go ahead with his plans and she would give him her blessing. She cried so much that night and hoped for the better soon. After a month, the queen was sick, and when they called on the medicine man, he told the king that the queen was pregnant with child. The king was so happy because the queen had never been pregnant, not even a single miscarriage, and they hoped she would go through with the baby and deliver safely. Everyone was overjoyed when the news broke about the queen being pregnant. It was almost like a holiday. They cheered and toasted to the new baby. The queen's pregnancy progressed with joy, and the spark that once left the eyes of the king was restored, as he did not fail to hire the best midwives to attend to her and ensured she ate well. Most times, he would spend a good amount of time talking to the queen's belly, and they both would be seen arguing about the gender of the baby. The pregnancy progressed well, and in the 9th month, she went into labor. She gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, and the king's heart was full. He named his son Enoch, and he was sure his lineage was secured. People brought a lot of gifts to congratulate the king and queen on their new child. The boy was a very handsome young prince, admired by all. He got all he wanted at his beck and call, and was overly spoilt. Prince Enoch was the exact opposite of his parents, as people noticed how very arrogant he was. He had no respect whatsoever and did whatever he wanted. Several times his parents had spoken to him, but their words fell on deaf ears. Prince Enoch kept up with his attitude until he clocked 18 years of age. He was already out of hand by then. They wondered how they would curtail his behavior, as they feared what he would do to people when he took over. Before he clocked 18, his parents asked him what he wanted as a birthday present, and he said he would think about it and get back to them. His parents told him he could take his time, and whatever he wanted, he should consider it granted. Prince Enoch went before the king and queen and made his request the next day. He asked his parents to let him rule the kingdom for a month. The king and queen looked at each other and they asked him why he wanted to. He said he wants his people to know what ruling under his reign would be like. He asked his parents to go on the trip. They were invited to Obok Palace, that they should go, given they have been meaning to go there, and that he would rule their kingdom for a month. Given they had given him their word about fulfilling his request, they obliged him and prepared to visit the kingdom. The news spread about the prince leading the kingdom, and they wondered if they would survive it. The very first day after his parents decided to leave the palace, he asked his guards to get prepared and left for the village. When he went there, anyone who did not greet the prince properly, he asked them to give them some strokes of the cane. He continued until he got to a certain old woman who could barely walk. He asked her to greet him properly, but before she could utter any words, whips had started to land on her body, as per the instruction he gave to his guards. She looked at him in pain and said, "Do you know I am old enough to be your grandmother? Who should greet whom, if I may ask?" This angered the prince even more, and he gave the old woman a dirty slap. She looked at him and said, "I give you until 1 month to find who will love you for who you are. If not, you will take the full form of your character." He pushed the old lady and went on with his journey. He saw a very dirty, timid girl, waved to him with smiles on her face, and he asked his guards to take her to be locked up for daring to look at him. That night, the prince felt very strange and he could be seen restless on his bed. By the time he got up, he had transformed into a beast. No one recognized him, so the guards tried to kill him, but were not successful until he was able to make his way out of the palace. The guards, on rushing to the prince's chambers, found his torn clothes on the floor and thought he had been harmed, and set off a search party to get the beast in the forest. They searched and could not find any trace of the beast, and wondered what they would tell the king and queen when they returned about what happened to their only son and child. The prince was already exhausted, and by morning he changed back to his human form. His clothes were torn, and he wondered what happened to him as he started getting flashes of events that occurred at night. Instantly, he saw the old woman in the forest where he was, and he recognized her. She repeated the last words she said to him previously. "You have a month to find someone to love you for who you are, or remain a beast forever." She laughed and vanished before his eyes. He started pleading that the old woman come back, that he was sorry for being so foolish, that he did not know what made him do that. He apologized, but he was talking to himself. She was long gone. He thought to himself where he would find love in a short amount of time. He returned to the palace, and when the guards saw him, they were relieved. He told his trusted guard and asked two to go in search of the old woman they had flogged the day before, while he confided in two others and told them that the old lady had placed a curse on him to find love or remain a beast forever, that he should find beautiful ladies at once, that there was no time to waste. He bought the ladies luxury items and promised to make them his queen, only if they loved him. They agreed to love him, but by nightfall, whenever he transformed, they would take to their heels and never return. Soon, news spread about the beastly prince, and no woman wanted to associate with him. To be continued. Watch out for part 2. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.